Start here, right? So basically, we've just run a test, and we ran the initial test work was just the zeroing out to make sure the machine's calibrated, and we showed a level of 21.03% oxygen. Now, then we started operating, and we had here. This was over time. But these are basically just
11%, yes, CO2.
Yeah, because that was when it was running from the exactly from the engine, from a sampling point before the Thunderstorm Generator. So now we have before the Thunderstorm Generator, right, and then we come right to the end here, like because we are trying to calibrate it and get the right sweet spot, and we still have work to do on that. But the
20 point something, yeah.
Yeah, so 20.4% oxygen.
11, 1.4 CO2.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so yeah, 11% CO2 to 1.4%. So
that's correct.
So
and then the oxygen from 6% to 20.5%.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good enough? Yeah.
So and but also on here we had the hydrocarbons were 99, and this one was let's see, hydrocarbons.
24.
We got no 81. 91. So the hydrocarbons down slightly. But and then the NOx, what was the NOx here? Here.
99, yeah.
99, 24.
24.
Yeah. So the NOx is down. Yep. So, but the vacuum is. We tried to seal it up, but we still have a problem. It's probably around. We have to seal around the carburetor. Yeah. Because I think the leak is because we sealed it all up, but it's still the bubbler is not working. Maybe 30%. So we still. This is only the second time we've run it, so we did a good job to get it going now, and you can see the results. But this machine is the same results as we had. If you look at our test results from the independent, this is the same machine that did those test results. So we know we brought this here so we can tune it and get it back to the test results that we achieved before. So we're on the way, but the test results before we had zero, I think, or pretty close to zero carbon monoxide, close to zero carbon dioxide, and this was the independent test calibrated with a lot more expensive machine than mine. So, and we also did the gas test.
Yeah. Thank you very much for the test, Malcolm.
Yeah.
Well, it's a good,
good
thing to see. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
Hello, Jordan. What are you up to here?
I am taking apart this generator so that we can fit a Thunderstorm Generator retrofit to it.
Cool.
So we're just taking off the cowling and the fuel tank and the air filter, just so that Malcolm can come in and get it, add everything. We've got to then grind a few bits off and then retrofit the Thunderstorm Generator into the air intake and the exhaust.
And what's this beautiful backdrop in your workshop? This is your, is this virtual or is this real?
This is not the green screen for a change. This is the beautiful marina of Dubai. And it's a pretty nice place to be doing this, really, even though it's unconventional, not the normal workshop.
Actually, what are you up to?
I am creating a presentation for whatever are the next steps of Dubai.
And what sort of presentation is that? Is that a Thunderstorm Generator presentation?
This is for the Thunderstorm Generator. And
it's not painting model airplanes?
Not painting model airplanes tonight, no. Hey, it's Roger Green. What are we up to?
I'm here with the A team in the Thunderstorm Strike Force. Yeah, that's right. So we arrived in Dubai a few days ago, and we've been doing some preparations. We've got a generator, and we're going to retrofit the Thunderstorm Generator onto the generator, which we're doing this evening and tomorrow. And then we're going to be taking it to our first cement factory and they are the early adopters of the Thunderstorm Generator here in the UAE marketplace, with the government intention by 2030 they want a zero emissions economy. And of course we are a big part of that solution. So we're going to be doing a demo at the cement factory with the inventor, Malcolm Bendall, who's also here. And we then do a presentation. So Ashley and I have been working on our presentation where we basically go through the existing problems that are around pollutants and carbon, and then not only demonstrating the effectiveness of the Thunderstorm Generator, but take them through the whole process of how it works, and then eventually show them how we can negotiate a win-win scenario where they can be part of, and we can be part of them, saving lots of money and reducing their carbon footprint big time. So that's the whole dynamic here to begin with. And you know, once we've proven it up in this industry, we'll be going on to many, many more industries around the planet. So that's the story so far.
फिलहाल तो इसमें फिक्सेड कर देंगे ना। नहीं वो
We could always, if we have to,
कर दिया
think at the moment.
I think you've got to get that under there, yeah.
Okay, so that goes over to there, so that goes to just
You're blocked
You want
here, so you actually need...
okay. So we cut. Yeah, good. Yeah. Cutting.
That pipe will come here.
That's right, that goes in there.
Yeah.
कर देंगे
Polycarbonate. Yeah. We put that there and then we go fine. Yeah, and then this one can the bracket put there and put the bolts. They put a bracket here and hold the bolts.
ये तो टाका मारेगा क्या?
Oh, it can bring it
Taka
right
mark.
across. Yeah.
Is that right? It's going the same way? That's anti-clockwise.
Oh, sorry, yeah.
You're looking at it from that way down.
Direction,
From the top?
direction of flow.
Yeah, okay. So, okay, yeah, gotcha.
Anti-clockwise direction.
Yeah.
So you put it.
to oxygen that can be given to the process. Direct. So it will be a win-win.
The audience is getting bigger and bigger and bigger.
I think this is
Some of these slides we can go over very quickly because you're very familiar with the situation in the world, that there is a big problem with the carbon and the cost to deal with that problem. And today we're here to present a solution for you. As you can see, it's going to be very scalable what you witnessed out there. We have the small version that we brought that from London, and that's very you could say easy for us to put it all together, so to speak. But it's very, very scalable, as you'll see. This is a version that we did, I think, in Australia. Yeah.
Yeah, that was
Yeah.
in Australia.
Yeah. So you guys are very, very familiar with the critical challenge that we need to reduce our greenhouse gases, but with this economic viability, right? To make it cost effective to achieve our goals. And of course to deal with the environmental impact. Some of these slides I'll go through quickly because you're a very educated group about the problem. As you know, our commitment to environmental change. This one is a good one though for you because you can see that this is the actual spending on reducing our carbon, and this is actually what we need to do, which is running in trillions of dollars. Here is Malcolm, you'll meet him this afternoon, with the Thunderstorm on top of a London factory, right? These are the key things that we're going to present today and prove to you that this system works. We use the waste, heat and emissions to transmute the pollutants. That's the fundamental science. Easy to retrofit all existing engines and technologies and industry, right? And the third thing is it enhances the efficiency of all of the engines because in this transmutation that happens, we create more oxygen, which is looped back in to the engines, etc., to make them even more efficient. You'll see with our validated testing, we even produce 7,000% more oxygen out of this transmutation. I'm going to present some fundamentals tests, but we've also had this independently validated by a UK company called Element, and they are very international, and they have certified the Thunderstorm Generator. That paperwork to TVS the other day, and we can always make copies for you. Their testing was, we always do the testing without the when I say TSG, Thunderstorm Generator, TSG, with and without. That's what we're always doing. So in this test we did, you'll see the baseline. Here's the carbon dioxide. Here's the baseline without the TGS. This is with the TGS. And this, my dear friends, is the difference. It's phenomenal. Carbon monoxide, which as you know is a big time problem, particularly in third world countries where thousands of people die from carbon monoxide poisoning. %. Oxygen is increased. We've seen this much, much bigger in other engines, right? Hydrocarbons, nitrogen oxides, which you're familiar with. And we'll look at some other tests. Very, very similar results. You see this here with the thunderstorm, without the thunderstorm. You'll see the significance in the baseline here, and then with our testing from 6 down to 0 in some cases, down to 0.02. We have done a lot of testing and a lot of validation, and this next slide will show you our independent validation with this company, very well thought of international company, Element. So this is a graphic that we produced out of the report that I gave TVS the other day, so that you can sort of graphically connect with it. Again, here's sulfur dioxide. Down 84%. Ammonia, which of course is a problem for you guys, down 78. Hydrogen, volatile components as carbon monoxide, oxygen, nearly 7,000% increase through the transmutation. And of course our key thing is this is enabling business to maximize their current investments while meeting increasingly strident environmental standards. This is the same chart, just bigger. This is the report that has been independently validated, which you're most welcome to analyze yourself. But the inventor did another good graphic for you to just capture what's going on. He used tennis balls. I love this chart. And you can see the carbon here, standard engine with the TSG. Standard with the TSG. Oxygen, 1. Look at TSG, oxygen. Carbon monoxide, again, reduced significantly. Water vapor, total VOCs retrofitted, 99.9%. Remember, this is from the company testing, not ours, from independent. And ammonia, of course, which is important for you guys. Okay, so you can see, you get the idea. We can easily retrofit, significant reductions, and improves engine and fuel efficiency. Just another graphic to get the message across. Reduces harmful, increases the fuel efficiencies. For our market entry, obviously we're very interested in the power generation. We've already got a lot of interest from transportation. Here is your category, heavy industry, steel, cement, etc. But it's scalable across all of these industries. So you'll be impressed with this one. This is what Malcolm did in a factory in the UK. And this is kind of like what we'll be getting to for your needs here. Do you want to say anything about this one, Malcolm? Yeah. And just push the star, yeah?
Push the star, yeah. So basically, exactly what you've got outside. Okay. You have here's your the bubbler. So these were originally, these were originally air filters that were here. I took the air filter off and put it here. The air comes in here, comes down here, goes along here, up here, and then through, around, and back down into the engine. Yeah, so basically it's a very simple system. The same as you see, it's scalable. I built this just out of polypipe, and that's a glass chamber. and you've got the flows, they obviously have actually got a 0 point there. Notice I'm only using one sphere here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was wondering about that.
That is a 432.
Yeah, what in ratio?
Ratio.
In ratio.
18, 16.
Yeah, see that.
4 times 6, 3 times 6, 2 times 6, 4, 3, 2. The same
Covered it?
here,
Yeah.
it's on more. So this is the 2 spheres. And
Yeah.
this is on a generator plant in London. Right, so basically this is the old, like the old thing, we had a bypass here.
Okay.
Basically it's exactly the same thing. We had this assembly down here, and it just came up into here, through the centre, into the motor, and then this is the coming up straight out of the thing, spinning around anti-clockwise, and this is, we had the same reduction, and that's putting electricity into the grid.
And you're very familiar with all of this. This is basically what we call our competition, which is hardly any competition for us because of the cost factor, all sorts of crazy things going on here with trying to deal with the carbon, as you know. So, as I said, we're starting to work with transportation. As you can see, it retrofits really well onto these. We want to, we're going to be showing you where it's manufactured in India, but as you know, the more democratic it becomes, the more scalable, the more the costs will come down. We want this on every tut-tut in every... And there's Malcolm with something very, very similar to what we're doing with you guys here today. Okay, Malcolm, this was your jet engine. Say no more.
So this is a big boy's toy. And when this winds up, it's a real jet engine. It's actually an APU, it's auxiliary power unit, of a Chinook. And it fell off the back of a US Navy truck. They got 3 of them. But it did the same thing, identical. This is very similar, if you think about it, as a high volume flow like you have. Right? And where it's a 6-inch pipe, it's a jet engine, so there's a lot of flow going through that, but it handled it really well.
Yeah. Okay, so we're familiar with this now. Just a yeah. You want to say anything about this? Pretty straightforward, is it, Malcolm?
Yeah, we had all gas analyzers. We had we actually had a oscilloscope because it actually creates like a solitron standing wave. So it means that it's seeing the oscilloscope seeing that 0 point, and it just goes positive, negative, and the voltage goes positive 16 volts, negative 16 volts, positive 16. This is actually cycling. So we just did a lot of test work on that unit.
This is the facility in India that we're working with. Okay, again, this is in the UK on top of the factory.
Well, we've got to use mains gas and waste gas from the rubbish tip.
Okay, this is a good example, and here's the test results because this was a natural gas powered substation that Malcolm retrofitted. And here's the results with the mains gas.
Because the thing was that this was built as a test, didn't have the 2-inch or the 12-inch. It was to test the flow, so that they were concerned that the flow wouldn't be fast enough for they didn't want back pressure on the motor. So it was only in steel, not stainless steel. So that's why, but it's still, even though it's not the right material, it's a stainless steel as a catalyst. Yeah, but it still
work.
Monoxide, and it's eliminated the carbon dioxide. So that proved that about 50% is due to the thunderstorm, like the turbine going opposite, and 50% is from the catalytic effect of the stainless steel. But even that's, perfect.
Yeah, pretty good results.
This is the original test work that I did in time.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Entering the market. So cost effective. Global reach. Very, very competitive. So Strike Foundation is incorporated in the UK, and we're looking at all of these industries at the moment. And of course, we're looking for win-win scenarios, in the sense of, like, if you're going to make savings and reducing your costs, then we're engaging with case by case, especially at this stage as we enter into the marketplace, right? So, but eventually there'll be licensing fees depending on the industry and the situation and all of this. Right.
Because what we did in London was they were going to close down because they couldn't meet the CO2. They suddenly said, oh, everything that's inside inner London, in the M25, you banned. So you've spent like 5 million on your plant, or 10 million, and you can't run it anymore. So they were in that situation, and they needed, and you see what happened? Their carbon monoxide talked down to zero. Now they don't have to close down.
They saved their company.
Yeah. So that was a 50-50 deal. So the savings they make, this is when you say win-win.
Yeah.
So you have X amount, you're producing cash flow. When you add our technology, you can have 2X, and there was, what we did with them, we went 50-50 on the increase in your thing. So we're both winning. I'm not taking anything from you. You're making more than you were.
It's like a percentage on the savings to be negotiated.
This can be mounted in any of the machines here.
So
This kind of a thing can be
any machine you have
any machine here.
Yeah.
Because it's scalable to any scale, and it's like a very simple system. Just got a bubbler. I mean, the scales, you see the changes, but I found it's a very honest system. It's got wide range of, they can use 2 smaller spheres, it'll still work, but it puts back pressure on the motor. But if you have 2, I had double the size spheres and it still worked. And then I took one of them away, it still works. So it's got a wide range of sort of, 124-inch sphere would come up probably from its CCs, like you'll have maybe from 20,000 cc's to maybe 60,000 cc's.
It is small equipment like shovel.
Yeah, we have a loader है.
कितना last floor का? 350 kilo.
So just as a quick review, the energy efficiency savings, we're being very conservative with this 20-25%. We expect more, but we want to play safe with what we present. But you can see these figures, we've proven this over 96%.
So basically the funny joke about that is that as you drive your car, you're making money.
With this system, right?
This system, because you're actually trading. So because the carbon trading is a big thing, especially in ships. So you've got one big engine and one fitting. And so that's really good.
So you all know Ahmed. He's my
boss.
and he's my sort of business partner. We've got a couple of projects on. So I'm going to hand it over. This is the end of my part of this. Just very quickly, the corporate structure, yes, there are patents going through, quite a number of them to protect the IP. Go through, for instance, this was a costing done on a 1 megawatt coal power plant in the USA, with some assumptions, but these sort of figures I've done before with various other technologies. You know, 10% saves them, you know, like, well, the revenue is $7 million. You save 20%, 15, 30, get the idea? I think you're familiar with what can happen with these kind of savings, you know, in heavy industry. This was done in Thailand. The savings achieved 40% on just this generator. There was a royalty fee that they have generated with this company. Very similar at a power station in Thailand. Oh, so a very quick summary. I think you get the idea. So I'm going to hand it over to Jordan, and Malcolm will be commenting, where we can take you through some of the more technical side.
Yeah, so what this is Plasmoid technology. So plasmoids are just structured plasma. That's all it is. We've got the 4 states of matter. This is just the structured version of that. They almost act like kind of small bees, like, you know how if a hive is overheating, the bee will go to the front of the hive, it'll flap its wings, cool the hive down. So plasmoids, they almost act like living entities. They keep a system in homeostasis, and that's what they're doing here as well. They can also provide energy, so essentially this is just the concept of the thunderstorm. 2 opposing vortexes creates a plane of equilibrium at the center. This creates a 0 point. When matter passes through the 0 point, everything is frequency, like Nikola Tesla said, so this is removing the timing. Then when they come out the other side, they reform, and Malcolm can speak to that as well if he likes. We'll probably have a slide on this. So this is just about maximizing our existing infrastructure. Obviously, with you guys, you're not going to go electric or any of this mad stuff. This is maybe more applicable to things like the auto industry, power generation, other things like this. But you know, obviously we've got millions of cars in the world, millions of tuk-tuks, millions of coal power plants, diesel generators. This is a way that we can move forward, continue to use that existing infrastructure and oil and gas infrastructure for years to come, because it just gets rid of the harmful emissions. All of it is converted to oxygen. This works through process water bubble cavitation. So this is how the plasmoids are formed. There's these 3 units that you'll see on the engine outside, the UV light bulb, which just preconditions the air coming through into the system. Then you've got this bubbler, and so this is using the vacuum and compression of the engine strokes to pull up, create micro bubbles in the bubbler and then collapse them. And when you get this collapse, this creates a gravity well. This creates that essentially infinity sign or donut shaped structure of plasma, which does the work in the system. So yeah, that's it here. We've got the pre-ionization chamber, which it's not exactly ionizing here. It's preconditioning the frequency of the air or getting rid of the things we don't want there. The Plasmoid generator, which is that large tube that we're seeing that's filled with water. That's where the bubbles are pulled through and then collapsed. And then the main part of the system, the Thunderstorm Generator, or the Vajra, that's these 2 spheres where the magic happens, where we get these 2 opposing vortexes. So this is just going through the steps of that system as well. So pretty much what I've already explained there. And you'll be able to understand this better with the demonstration of the unit.
You create a magnetic field there, there is a magnetic field?
Yeah, essentially, yes. Yeah, that's right.
So that it is being made, yeah?
Exactly. So even in that last phase of the system, the exhaust gases are actually coming into the outer nested sphere and pipe. And then there's 3 nested spheres in there.
Okay.
And then the inner stream coming from the bubbler, from the air, is going into the inner one. And so they're not even actually touching, but the plasmoids can react through the metal. They're not bound by this. So it's an electromagnetic phenomena there.
It's the same field as the Earth, same field as the Sun. So it's a universal principle. So you're creating the same field that the Sun imprints frequency to make matter, and we're doing exactly the opposite with the Thunderstorm Generator. To get rid of the carbon, what I do is you make no frequency, so then it can't exist. So it just goes to plasma, and then it comes through that, and then it comes back to the frequency, like those pipe lengths, 333, will actually create oxygen. So it actually gives a frequency to the plasma that when it comes out, it sees the frequency and it matches that frequency. That frequency happens to be the frequency of oxygen. So that's very simple how it works. It's just so simple. It's too simple.
After the installation, any other operating cost or any spare circuits you will have to put inside? Nothing.
Nothing. It's just stainless steel.
Okay.
And it actually cleans itself out. So when it's been retrofit to engines, we find the carbon residue's gone. You barely need to replace the water even. Yeah.
But the thing is that because really what you're doing is, because it's sacred geometry. So we used to understand this because if you look at all the buildings that you mentioned earlier, what was that building system, the Indian building system? I know it was larger.
Vastu-Sastra.
Yeah, Dutchess. So all this was for a reason, because what they were building the buildings to match the resonance, literally the universe. And so if you match the resonance, if you realize that all matter is simply a resonant, like a note, a musical note, and really all you have to do is you change the frequency and you go from carbon to oxygen. And it's as simple as that. It's like pressing a key. And so we used to know this, and you look at all the temples that have been built, that knowledge was built into the temples, and then we lost it. So, but now it comes back.
Yeah. So there's actually been a lot of research done on structured plasma. It's not, generally people aren't aware of it. In Russia, not so much. They've actually got institutes set up and studying this full time. But in the West and even the Middle East, as far as I'm aware, not so much. But essentially, and so there has been a lot of research done on other reactors. So like, for example, there's Dr. Binjuan Huang in Taiwan, who worked with Bob Greenyer. They recently released a paper called, I believe, Water Gases Can Trigger, anyway, I can't remember the name of the paper, but I've got a whole list of references that we can show of previous reactors. But what's unique about the Thunderstorm Generator is it has been invented on different principles. So we can explain it in terms of regular science, but it is based on frequency and geometry, ultimately. This is working on the same principles that Nikola Tesla used, which is why he was able to work so fast and invent so many things. He wasn't working on the current modern theories that we have. But nevertheless, there are many other reactors, and this effect has been proven many, many times. There's been a lot of analysis done on the spheres themselves under the scanning electron microscope to identify these structures which nuclear scientist Dr. Takaaki Matsumoto previously found. So these signature marks of the ball lightning or plasmoid reactions, same kind of thing, and they've been called a lot of different things. There's a lot of different names for these because a lot of people have thought they've been rediscovering them.
Static electricity, you know, when you get a shock.
Yeah,
That's ball lightning.
that's ball lightning, yeah. Yeah. So yeah, there's been
Matsumoto's work too proved that you just need water and bubbles, and you can create easily up to the first 25 elements. Just from water.
Yeah.
Without anything else. You could manufacture elements.
Yeah, so stepwise process of transmutation, and we find these same stepwise transmutation processes going on in all of these reactors. So the only real difference with the Thunderstorm Generator is that it's able to actually do it reliably and in a functional way that we can actually use, because usually scientists are just doing this in a laboratory and analyzing tiny samples that they can create. It's quite difficult. The Thunderstorm Generator, for example, it had 129 million impact marks.
Which are the crenulated ion spheres, which are an artifact, but they're unique to ball lightning. It was 129 million, bigger than 20 microns, but in total, there was 10 to the 15th of them. When I calculated it back, it means that I had 55,000 lightning strikes a second for 500 hours in the big sphere.
Yeah. So this is like if you've seen those, the Tesla ball, like the lightning thing, you'll touch on the outside, the lightning follows your fingertip. You can imagine that this is essentially what is occurring within the spheres of the Thunderstorm Generator. So these are the impact marks we see afterwards. And instead of just iron on the outside, we're finding these little spheres, so crenellated iron microspheres, and they're hollow and filled with a variety of other elements, like essentially a whole mix of organic and inorganic elements, which is signaling that we can actually use this to generate things, even terraform other planets in the future. Like it's a far deeper process than just being something to retrofit to an engine, but that is its primary use for the moment and the immediate need. Yeah, so Malcolm really came up with this concept based on just observing the form and function of nature, a natural thunderstorm, and that this is exactly how this is working. Two opposing vortexes, and a thunderstorm, a hurricane will generate megawatts of energy, just an insane amount of energy, and this is just formed from a slight differential in temperature and pressure. That's what we're doing here, using the natural forces to create a huge amount of energy. Nature does it all the time.
Separation to put all the positive over this side and all the negative over this side, and it's tiny, but it's such in the cloud. You've got those lightning bolts, 60,000 volts, and each, and more.
Yeah, so it's a precision science. This is frequency and geometry. It's like building a musical instrument. That's what this thing is. It's based on these same principles that, if you just build it any which way, the notes won't sound right. You won't get a sound. It's the same with this. Those ratios really matter. So this is just a short visual example of how the plasmoid is formed. So you've got your vacuum bubbles. These are the bubbles that are coming up through the bubbler system. And then we get this impact when the vacuum is released. The bubbles will implode symmetrically. If they're around 1 micron in size is the ideal. If they're too large, they won't implode symmetrically. You don't get the effect. So that's why you'll see that the bubbler is stuffed with just stainless steel wool, and this just does the job. There's probably other ways to do it. This works, and it's a very simple way to demonstrate that we just make these micronized bubbles, we collapse them. If they're the right size, that it's viable in the parameters for cavitation, then they'll create this infinity sign shape, this toroidal donut. If we look at it like this will sustain its form. So this is a self-contained magnetic field, a plasmoid. That's what we're calling a plasmoid. And that's what does the work in the system. These then get pulled into the next phase of the system, and they're the ones creating these ball lightning reactions, arcing between the spheres and transmuting the carbon and other elements. So this is just briefly going through the steps. This is our ionizer. That's the stainless steel, I think it's stainless steel, right? The chamber for the ion, yeah. And again, it's actually a non-ionizing light bulb in this case.
Just to clarify that. So if you can use it for different effects. So I was working with NASA to put it on their spaceships, because then if you have an engine running, it's taking the carbon oxide you're breathing out and giving you back oxygen. You can think about that. It's a very simple solution to going to Mars for 6 months. Instead of having to scrub the CO2 out, well, why don't you change it back to oxygen? It's something useful, which is very simple.
Yeah, so profound applications for aerospace.
Would have been much useful.
Very useful.
You generate a lot of oxygen there.
Well, actually, I can show you. I presented to the government, but it's like this technology. My technology has been, a lot of people are angry about it because they want to have a problem with CO2. I've solved the problem. So I thought they'd go and say, oh, congratulations. No, they go, slap. No, you've stolen our problem. A medical machine, exactly what you said.
Yeah.
Right, because of course it's going to provide oxygen inside the bottle.
Yeah.
Right, and so that would solve the problem. They don't want a solution. Yeah, they want to tax people. Okay.
Yep, and this solves it. So this is step 2. This is a diagram of the bubbler. So, I've got a pointer here, don't I? So this is where the air from the ionizer is coming up in here, and then there's a porous air stone in here that just creates those original micro bubbles, comes up through a funnel.
Like a fish tank.
Yeah, just like a fish tank, yep. It comes up in there, and then this is all stuffed with the stainless steel wool. So this further just breaks up the bubbles, tries to get it within those right parameters for cavitation. They get pulled up, and this is all happening by the vacuum and the compression of the engine, so we're just utilizing the infrastructure that's already there. They get pulled up here, and then as that vacuum releases, then they will collapse. And if they're in that viable range, around 1 micron's ideal, then they'll form into these little structured plasma entities, these plasmoids. And then they'll actually grow in size in here just by feeding on the water vapors and splitting this up, consuming the hydrogen. They get pulled through into the next phase of the system, which, as I say, is where the magic happens. So this is just a diagram of one of the spheres here, but it demonstrates essentially that stream from the bubbler is coming in here into the inner 3-inch sphere. And there's actually usually a 2-inch sphere in here as a flow guide in the more recent prototypes as well. So,
and also to protect the 0 point. There's a 0 point, this is no frequency, so you don't want that to be flowing, because you want it to be a point where you're excluding the frequency, and that's part of the magic, because then what it does is then carbon can't exist.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so yeah, this is coming in a clockwise spiral, and then in the other direction you've got our hot exhaust gases coming in just directly from the exhaust, as you'll be able to see on the demo unit. We're retrofitting straight onto the exhaust. That's coming in the other direction in the outer sphere, and then just opposing that coming through. And you can see we've marked the positive charge and the negative charge here. And then this is where I say you'll see the impact marks on the inside of the outside sphere and the outside of the inside sphere, where these plasmoids are actually arcing between the spheres. And like I said about the bee metaphor earlier, they want to keep the system in homeostasis. So they're arcing between here, trying to balance that positive negative charge, but it's constantly being reformed and created by the system.
Another bit too is quite subtle, that it's expanding into the top sphere and then contracting to go out through the spheres. So what you're doing is you're expanding something over it and then contracting it. Now on the other side, the thing's expanding in the opposite direction and contracting on the other one. So you've actually got expansion, contraction, and then you've got clockwise and anti-clockwise. So you've got all these, for every force there's an equal and opposite force, and this is the basic principle. If for every force you have an equal and opposite force, the faster the exhaust spins, the faster the exhaust coming in spins, because they spin against each other like a cog. And what's been recorded in the labs, we were to 1 million miles an hour. That speed, the speed is atomic. Yeah.
So opposing every single fundamental force that Malcolm could possibly conceive of, and that's what happens. Order comes from chaos. So this is just a little visual demonstration of the transmutation process that's occurring here. So protium atoms, hydrogen is actually a group, not an element. Protium is really our first element, so that's why we're using that here, but think of it as hydrogen if you wish. The protons and electrons are stripped from the protium atoms by the plasmoid, and the protons and electrons stripped from the protium atoms merge with the carbon atom, and Malcolm gave a better example of this earlier about the whole process, breaking it down to helium and rebuilding. The additional protons and electrons transmute the carbon atom into the oxygen atom. So it's not how we traditionally, if you're a trained chemist, you may not be thinking about things this way, but this is how it is working here. And there's been plenty of science to back that up. A lot of it was previously classified military stuff outside of Russia.
All the reaction take place in an atomic stage, yeah?
Yeah. We're stripping it back to base principle, removing the frequency.
And
Yeah.
you've got a 0 point which will absorb the proton electron. And then it grows because it gets trapped in the self-contained electromagnetic field. It can't get out.
So you are creating a kind of isotope and then combining together.
Yeah.
There is something similar, yeah?
And it's very simple. And it's the thing is, but there's another box thing. If you're box, and we were all guilty of this because we're all being brainwashed at school. They say this is a box and that's hydrogen. This is another box, not related to that box, but this is now carbon, right? But I said, well, wait a minute. What about form and function? Aren't they all like toruses? And aren't you just adding a couple more electrons to it? So if you look at a scale-electric track, and you've got a red car and a black car, and you just have it going around, but in opposite directions, like I used to do, you have those cars going around, then you just add 2 more cars, and suddenly you're helium. And you add another 2 more cars, suddenly you're lithium. Add another 2 more cars. So it's not a separate process. It's the same system, the same sacred geometry. And so that's what was in all the, like if you look at the King's Chamber and the King's Pyramid in Egypt, it's 25.92 degrees, the melting point of hydrogen. And the angle of chemistry, 51.84, is double that, so it's an octave of that. So hydrogen is an octave of 51.84, 51.84. If you multiply that seconds, if you multiply that into arc seconds, you've got Brahma all time. 311 trillion and 40 billion. It's all the same system.
Also the amount of arc seconds in the 6 days of creation. So there's a huge link between many ancient cultures and histories. They seem to understand this mathematics evidentially, and we've got thousands of reference points to be able to prove that.
The moon travels 51,840 miles, so that's time itself. So if you know what time is, and if you can have that 0 point where there is no time, the elements go back to plasma, because they can't exist, they have no frequency. Yeah, so very simple.
Simple, but not how we have been taught to think about things generally. So this is just another demonstration of that. So we've got carbon, 6 protons, 6 neutrons, 6 electrons, 666, nitrogen, 777, oxygen, 888, protium or hydrogen, 1, 1. So it's...
It is multiplication of them.
Yeah.
So, but how does when coming to carbon, certain energy levels, some one energy level is a tipping off?
Yeah, but you see, but the thing is, if you have different frequencies at different energy levels, but what if you have no frequency? You have no energy levels. So the rules just go out the window. You can't have, because when you've got structured plasma, and when you've got a 0 point, the same rules don't apply. Because you're doing that with no energy. But you're pulling it apart simply because you're removing the frequency from it. And so if you do that, it just goes back to pure energy, and then it will naturally reform. So basically, that process, both processes, unbelievably, actually give energy. And we have a paper that I'll give you that was sort of not common, because we've got the papers on it. It's been proven that we work with the top scientist, I'd argue, in the world. He's a emeritus distinguished professor of data science, computer science, mechanical. He's got degrees in mechanical engineering, emeritus professor and physics professor. He's got 4 degrees, and he's got 85,000 citations to his paper. And he is working now on a book with us, and on describing exactly in current normal terms, like in classic terms, exactly how you could explain that to any chemist. To say this has actually been proven. We're not breaking any laws. We're just smarter. Yeah, it's simple. Yeah. So I think, and also what I'd say was, classically, protein. I spoke to all the chief scientists in the world, And that'll say hydrogen, hydrogen, but hydrogen does exist, it's a group. It's an element, protein's an element. So, and that's what I say, but it's in the normal stages you say, well, it hasn't got a neutron, but actually the wall of the 0 point in that thing is the neutron. So everything has to have the wall of the hurricane in that imploded plasmoid. So I think of things in form and function. As a mine manager, it's always form and function. you put a bench in for your mining because it's form and function. You've got a face to work on, and so those principles and all your industrial things are all applying a technology to get a result. And so in this sense, what I saw was there's a hole in science that if you can't just go from protium and make two protiums makes a helium, and that's a 1934 paper written by Oliphant, who's Australian, and Rutherford, who's the top scientist in 1934 in UK. And so that paper said, well, we can fuse two hydrogens together. But then they're saying, yes, we can make helium. Well, wait a minute, where did the neutron come from then? Because suddenly a neutron appears, So to make helium, or two neutrons. And what I'm saying here is carbon is 666, nitrogen 777, and oxygen 888. Because nitrogen 80% of our atmosphere, and oxygen only 20%. But the 888 is really, in all cultures, is a sacred number. So basically, it all wraps into previous knowledge, and this is a very simple diagram, but it means that we can work off that, and the paper that I'll give you a copy of, that we're just perfecting at the moment, which Randall Carlson went up with Rob Harrick, and we've been working with Sheila, who's on the bike. She's a frequency expert. So anyway, so I'll get to
Sure.
Just about finished, guys. It's one or two more.
Yeah, this is just pretty much summing it up.
Just to understand, from inside the atom, just by changing the frequency inside the atomic structure, we can convert protium to oxygen, or oxygen to just by changing the frequency inside.
Yeah, you can, yes, just by the frequency.
Manipulation of frequency, we can go from lower atom to higher atom, or higher atom to lower atom, but changing the frequency inside the atom.
Yeah, because it's naturally in water. Because this is really interesting. So if you've got two hydrogen together, that's the 111. It's the 1H, so 222. And the oxygen is the 888. So actually, you've got the natural frequencies already in the water. It's like drums that are playing that frequency. So then it makes it easier to combine. Yeah, because you're actually creating a harmonic within the spheres. And some of the way the spheres are working. So the outside sphere is deconstructing, and the inside sphere is constructing. Yeah, so one's of course like a negative, which is implosive, which is life-giving, like getting all the water together and the calcium together and the iron together to make up blood and make up body. The other one is death and destruction, which is actually pulling things apart. So by putting them together, and deconstructing the carbon and constructing the what's going into the engine to be exactly the right frequencies. And a good example is when you have and why we use the ionizer is that for leaves, plants, they are green because that green frequency stops the chemical reaction of photosynthesis. So they reflect that. So they're every colour but green. They absorb every colour, but they reject green. If you think about that, well, okay, so I thought, well, maybe this is like photosynthesis. Maybe I have to put a UV light in and get rid of the frequencies that can stop this happening. And that was my theory, because the star in the jar was purple. So I thought, in ultraviolet, so why don't I put that frequency before, and it should multiply the effect, not because it's adding to the UV light in that process, but it's stopping the other frequencies because they're already being removed from the air. It's the opposite paradox.
Yeah. So essentially, this isn't breaking the laws of conservation of energy. The energy is already there. And you know, on a wider scale, these were Tesla's ideas, is that we're surrounded by energy. It's everywhere. So this is just about creating a geometric structure to be able to harness that energy efficiently. It's a waste energy conversion system. It's not pulling it from nowhere, you know. It's just utilizing it. The energy that's in the system already that doesn't get utilized. Malcolm always gives the example, you know, we fill up our car and we're only really getting a third of the value of the fuel, and the rest is being wasted, essentially, as emissions or shock waves or wasted heat.
And I think a great one is we live in scarcity in a universe of abundance. So we're quite skilled. What other species could do that?
Indeed. Yeah, this is just summing it up that this is market ready and scalable across multiple industries, offering immediate opportunities for early adopters and strategic partners. So it works, it's been tested, it's been verified many times on many different scales. There's obviously some engineering concerns for each individual application of it, but the device works, it's scalable, and it'll pretty much get rid of anything that is producing carbon and other things as well.
But I think to the next step really is like the partnership is, you know, this is a fantastic platform because you've got so many, you know, different applications we can put it on just in your own business. Each one of them is going to help. And if we get the governments behind it, because that's what my strategy has been, invite the government to have a look at it, which we did in England, and the government said, yeah, we want this. Why isn't this being done? And I said, well, you know, because you need government mandate. So it's not just me fighting the car industry or fighting anyone, it's the government says, you need to do this. You know, and then it's mandated, and India's going to do the same, they're going to mandate this technology, because they've just repeated these experiments that we've got here, they've repeated it themselves. Without me there, they built their own model, you know, and they've been extending for their factory. So I think that the thing is now, the opportunity for Dubai, the UAE, is to be basically the leader, and that's why I was saying get a university going, get people studying Plasmoid, studying the ancient texts, and moving us ahead, because that's a great place. It's the Middle East that secures the oil industry for thousands of years, or even millions of years, because like you just, there's no argument then against oil and gas, or even, you know, like cement. You know, because there's a rally against that as well, and the French are using geopolymers, and you know, so anyway, so that's I think where I see it going, and that's why we're here. And yeah, it's great to see the the vision coming forward in the sense that it's a solid platform across all, from your coal stacks to everything that you've got here is something that's relevant to.
Yeah, the heavy machinery, the generators. Everything. Yeah, it's a way to beat all of those regulations that are coming in easily the most cost-effective way that I could possibly comprehend, because it really is just a little bit of metal. You could recast things you already had to create this. Yep, you can lock yourself in a room with the machine if you want. I've done this, and several other researchers have all done it, and you're getting oxygen. That's the ultimate test, I believe. Close the door, run the thing, you can run it for as long as you want. Bob Greeny was in a room for I think 7 hours with it running, and he had absolutely he had a carbon monoxide sensor in his pocket, absolutely nothing. So see it to believe it. So the demo will be next.
You just have to see which one it is. Okay.
Yeah, these are for your chemist over here to go through.
I think you've already got this, you've got this from me.
Yeah, we got it. Yeah. So the thing is with this too, because we can get a cover page with the UAE, because they're also registered by the government, so that we can get one specifically for the UAE for that element, and they're doing one for India as well. So it means we don't have to argue anything, because these results are so black and white, you know. And
so these are two different ports, and one will say, engine 2 exhaust with the technology, and the one he's got is without, just for a comparison. Yeah.
So it is done in the actual.
Well, when it's running with machinery, we tune it first, and then this charges up. Yeah, here, and we'd have a electronic control on these. This is just very basic.
It was manual.
Minimum basic product.
The indications will be displaying on the dashboard or something?
Yeah, but it'll do it automatically. Just the computer control. We'll simply adjust it.
So then driver operator can see how much
system is working.
exhaust oxygen level and CO2
Yeah,
level.
yeah.
It's okay.
And that'll record it in a computer system. You have a box under the steering wheel, and you compute because we want that data. Go, yeah. Going up. Bubbler? Charging. It's supposed to come down. 19.